Welcome to the Hawks Nest, the home for all your Hawks and NBL news. I'm your host, Glenn Saville. Today we have all the news that come out of round 15, including the latest from the Hawks' clash with the Melbourne Tigers. Then, on the panel, I'll be joined by Hawks Nest correspondent Asa Schuster and Nat Sullivan from andthefoul.net. Now, let's take a look at the top stories from around the league. The Hawks' playoff aspirations have received a double body blow over the weekend after falling to both the Breakers and the Tigers. The Hawks were well and truly in both games but couldn't close the gap on either team. The Hawks travel to Townsville this week to face the Crocodiles, which will see 7th take on 8th. Still on Townsville, the Crocs managed to attract 3,500 fans to their game against Cairns on the weekend after Peter Crawford sent out an SOS saying that if they didn't get 4,000 fans to a game for the rest of the season, the club would find themselves again on the brink of extinction. We'll talk more about crowds later on in the panel. The NBL has formally advertised for expressions of interest regarding a team in Tasmania. The advertisement calls for applicants to apply by the 10th of Feb to make their interest known. Australia Day celebrations were doubly special for my old mate Shane Heal. Not only did he guide his Kings to a win over the 36ers, but I'm informed he did a great job performing his duties as an official Australia Day ambassador over the weekend. Nice one, Hammer. Milestones now, and congratulations to Hawks big man Larry Davidson for finally shaving that horrendous loaf. And he also celebrated 250 games against the Breakers. And to Mitch Norton from the Townsville Crocs, who played game number 50 against the Taipans. Now, let's have a look at the results from round 15 and the ladder standings so far. As we mentioned earlier, the Hawks fought hard but lost to both the Breakers and the Tigers this round. We sent the Hawks Nest's newest field correspondent, Jeff Adams, to catch up with players from the Hawks and the Tigers camp after their Australia Day clash.
Jeff Adams here for the Hawks Nest. I'm here with Mark Worthington. Last time it was a double overtime. They don't get that much easier.
No. It's always a tough match. Wollongong's a great team, and you got to show up against them, otherwise they beat you. And
they don't give up. It's always a tough game here in Wollongong.
Yeah, it always is. We went to double overtime last time, so we know what we're going to get when we come in here. A well-drilled basketball team that they can shoot the hell out of it. So we dodged a few bullets tonight, and we were happy to get over the line.
Gordy does a great job week in, week out, getting his charges ready, and we knew that we had to come here and give it a lot of effort to get a win today.
Yeah, as you say, they do shoot it well from outside, and there's a fairly even amount of when it comes to scoring. Was there anyone that you focused on coming into the game in terms of shutting them down?
Not so much shutting them down, but making them work a bit harder for their shots. Obviously, Oscar Forman and Rodney Clark are two of the best three-point shooters in the league. So if we can try and make it hard for them, I think it works a bit better in our favour. We let Oscar get a few too many looks, so we weren't too happy about that.
Tough way to finish up the weekend. Not the result you would have wanted.
No, obviously going into that those 3 games in 8 days, picking up none of them, it's pretty heartbreaking. Now 5 days before we play up in Townsville, we haven't played Townsville since the 1000th game. So look, we've just got to recover from this game and this stretch, and we've got to really evaluate that game and get ready for Townsville.
Firstly, how's the leg?
Yeah, it's not doing too bad. I had a couple light practices heading into this game, so it's going to take a couple of weeks to get my legs back, and hopefully it doesn't take too long though.
Yeah, you were throwing yourself around a little bit there in that third quarter, so it couldn't have been too bad.
Yeah, no, it actually felt pretty good when I was out there, but that's one thing that I like to focus on is bringing energy and trying to get on the loose balls and get the boys rolling.
So were you itching to get back in there in the fourth quarter? Were you having a word into Gordy's ear, or were you just taking it as it comes and just easing your way back into some court time?
No, I knew that I wasn't going to be playing too much this week. I've only had one practice with the boys since I've been out of hospital, so I wasn't expecting too much. But just over the next week, I'll slowly start to build it up, and hopefully I'll start to get some more court time for the game against Townsville.
Now you came into this weekend having lost the last 2 games. What was your expectations coming into what was a tough road trip double? And obviously you're happy to go 2-0 over the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely happy. I think going into the Perth game, we knew we just had to throw everything at them. No one had won over there in I think 23 or something games, so we knew we were a chance if we could stay close and try and make some plays towards the end. We were lucky that Wertho did that, and we didn't really turn our attention to Wollongong until after that. So we would have liked a bit more prep time for Wollongong, but we did a good job tonight.
Now, you mentioned the Perth game. Good way to finish, game-winning shot against a big crowd. Take us through it.
Yeah, the play was for Chris Goulding, and I told him if he was going to get doubled that I was going to knock down the shot for him, and it just worked out really well. And it was one of those really special moments.
Welcome back to the show. Time to take an in-depth look at the issues around the league. We have Hawks Nest field correspondent Asa Schuster and from andthefoul.net, Nat Sullivan. Welcome, boys. The shape of the top four at the moment, Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney. Is there any chance we're going to see that stay that way for the rest of the season? Or is Cairns, New Zealand, anyone going to make a run for it?
Well, Townsville won't. They're on 8-game losing streak. They've only got, four wins for the season. They're out of it. Hawks are pretty much out of it. So I think only really Cairns and New Zealand have the talent, but New Zealand seem like they're kind of...
So when those teams are talking to the media, they just talk mathematics now? Is that how it works? Is
pure
that
mathematics. That's when you need a good maths guy on your team to really nut it out and work out exactly what needs to be done.
That's where I was never any good there at all. Yeah. So what do you think, Asa?
Yeah, the top four is pretty much, look, if it goes that way for the rest of the season, but there's always room for someone to get hot, someone to get injured, and then you get into territory where teams need to sabotage things and, something radical to happen. But yeah, Sydney and...
What kind of sabotage are we talking about?
You tell me.
I don't know.
Sometimes
what the hell you're on about?
Sometimes the Hawks got in when they maybe shouldn't, sometimes they weren't.
Sure.
So Melbourne's hot. And I'd say there's a top three now with those teams. That they are really flexing their muscles. Their last weekend was impressive, giving Perth one in Perth. Coming back here with 1 day rest and playing some serious minutes with eight players.
Yeah, it shows some pretty good form heading down the stretch of the rest of the season. Games on public holidays, the Hawks really struggle with their crowd. Is it time to ditch that? I know Shane Hill's been a huge advocate and was talking about games on Christmas Day. Is that going to ever happen in this country?
I think Australia Day's failed pretty miserably. I mean, Hawks had 1,800. Sydney had 3,500. Yeah, I think public holiday games are okay depending on what they are, but Australia Day is probably one of the biggest days apart from Christmas or Easter or whatever in the year. So Australia Day should definitely be out. No way Christmas. Anything around Christmas, no way. But I think New Year's Eve games are still good. Like Hawks in Wollongong, it's still a pretty good crowd, same as whenever they have them in Sydney, Melbourne. So yeah, it just depends on the public holiday, but Australia Day should be a no-go from now on, I think.
Yeah, I don't mind the New Year's games, especially if they're early. Gives you time to do everything.
You just want to see the fireworks, is that all right?
I missed it 1 year. There was a scoreboard malfunction. There was an overtime.
There was a scoreboard malfunction for
a bit of a
half the season.
Courtesy, hello, WEC. Australia Day is just not on, and it's almost un-Australian to go to the basketball when you think about it. If you're a real Aussie, what are you doing going to a Yankee sport like the basketball for? What's that about? But the thing that hurt about Australia Day was in Wollongong. So we had maybe 10,000 people right near the WEC during the day, and we couldn't get 3,000 of those guys into the game. And I understand why. It's a big day for everyone, but maybe a ticket promotion or something on that day that everyone's right in that area. How hard is it to get some of them into the game? We had less than... That was the worst crowd of the year.
The battered Savs at the food van was really good, apparently.
Is that a self-deprecating...
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. It is what it is.
I don't really do the battered Savs. You're pumping.
I've just been called it for a long period of time, and I actually saw one the other day. Okay. Didn't go near it, didn't want to get sick. If the league's struggling for crowds at the moment, and there's been a lot of talk about expansion, is that an option right now with Tasmania? There's always talk about Brisbane. Is that what the league needs to be talking about at the moment?
That's a great question because Townsville's struggling right now, we're hearing, and the league probably should be taking care of the teams that are in the comp right now. And the whole point about the new NBL from a few years ago was getting all the teams in a financial position where they were viable. We're not seeing that completely yet, so maybe it's jumping the gun. Tasmania was a bit of a surprise because I'd forgotten about Tasmania. I actually,
it's a part of Australia. Well, okay? It has been for quite some time.
I've been known to tell people from overseas that it's a different country, and they believe it. Tasmania definitely needs something there. I don't know what kind of sports they have there. Do they have a cricket team? Do they have a netball team?
Hawthorn Hawks have a team down there and over in winter. They got a bit going on down there with the
Okay,
AFL.
so, well,
Obviously, the state government's throwing a lot of money in there. Are they going to be chipping
that's
some
the
money
thing.
in there? And the other
Would
talk
you-
was there Fraser Neal has 60 games. Like, when's the private jet rolling down your park? What?
24 is no. 30's. An upgrade to 30 would be questionable. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 is ridiculous.
Okay.
But I don't know if I'm kind of scared if the NBL does bring in Tassie and bring in Brisbane whenever they're going to enter, whenever they're going to come back in, that they'll drop off Wollongong and they'll drop off Townsville because they're really floundering crowd wise, and then they'll bring those other 2 teams in, which will do more harm than good. If they should just fix whatever is already broken before they try and bring in new teams and try and make it more complicated.
So is it good at the moment just to talk about it and just say this is where we want to get to? Is it you saying 60 games? Is this how far down the track is
we
that?
should be just attracting millionaires that are interested in investing in the NBL, and then maybe saying, well, yeah, you can start a team in Tasmania if you really want, but till then.
That's happened before, and it's headed south.
Not millionaires that have invented non-existent products that don't work. but you played in Tasmania, right? When you were first in the league.
I did, yeah. Derwent Centre.
Tell us about it. I know little about it. Like, is that a groovy place to travel?
It would be a really cool play. The Derwent Centre down there, the stadium's practically exactly the same as Townsville Stadium before they went, oh, wait a minute, this place is too small, let's knock out a wall and let's put in some more seats. It's practically the exact same stadium. So if they can get the people, they get the bums on the seats and they can get that kind of investment from an owner or state, wherever the money's coming from, it's not a bad thing.
I guess the biggest knock on the NBL in previous years was with fans was that they just never let the fans know what was going on behind the scenes. So I guess they're trying to do something correct here and try and let fans know, hey, this is what we plan on doing, or these are some ideas. But you can't please basketball fans. A lot of them would come back to saying, oh, that's unprofessional. You can't. I saw people on Twitter blaming getting up the NBL because they put out a thing in the newspaper in Tasmania calling for expressions of interest for a possible new NBL team. So
you got to start somewhere, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you can't just say, oh, well, I want to start a team, and boom, all of a sudden I have 6-7 people that's high profile that wants to run it.
Maybe we could start instead of. Do you want to start a new team? How about sponsoring a current team?
Oh, yes.
Would you like to sponsor a team and not be like jersey sponsor, but help the team out?
Ennis and Goulding at the end of the big win by the Tigers. You're the man. What went on there? A little bit of a scuffle.
Yeah, a little bit of a hoo-ha between. Goulding went up and went to shake his hand after the game, as everyone does, and Ennis got a little bit sooky and punched it away, and then. Goulding went back up to him to shake his hand again, and it kind of Ennis, a little bit of physical contact, and everyone got involved and had to break it up. It's not the first time with Ennis either. It happened. Something happened after the Hawks game when they lost in Wollongong. He started yelling out to people behind the Hawks bench and.
Is he just trying to pioneer? He's an NBA prospect. Is he just trying to pioneer the no shake hands rule? You can save yourself some time. I'll be on the massage table and get an extra 3 minutes on there or something, or.
He doesn't
a beer? I don't know. What?
He doesn't seem to like to lose, so he's been spoiled the first part of the season with Perth. He got here and everything was falling into place, couldn't miss. He's dunking on people.
Yeah.
And then, a couple of losses and he's a little salty afterwards. But when I first saw the thing with Goulding, is it Goulding? I don't know. That one
really probably should.
That always confuses
He's
me.
leading the league in scoring. You need to know this.
Goulding. Anyway, when I first saw he came back from an ad break and they were breaking them up, I thought, well, he's a guy that I can see would be irritating to opposition players, especially if you just lost to him. He kind of has that swagger. I like him as a player, but I could see that. But when it was Ennis, it seems to be a pattern there, and maybe he thinks he can get away with being a bit of a diva in the NBL.
Yeah, well, everyone needs it. The NBL needs a villain. He should either go balls the wall like Corey Williams or just shut up.
And he kicked a chair after the... apparently he kicked a chair. Allegedly, is that what we say here? He kicked a chair. It's all right to kick a chair off the court, but Ben Madgen kicked a chair on the court. He threw a chair.
It's throwing and kicking. So there's
a
line there.
The NBL trying in order to step in on that one. The NBL, off the court's fine to throw or kick a chair.
Mal Cooper needs to come out with a chair throwing kicking statement so we know exactly what you can and cannot do with a chair and who to.
Enough with the chair. I think we're going to have to leave it right there. Thanks for hanging out with us at the Hawks Nest, boys. That's our show. This week, the Hawks travel to Townsville to take on the Crocs. The Hawks' next home game is on February 9th against the 36ers, and we'll be back with a new episode in 2 weeks. In the meantime, be sure to keep up to date by following us on Facebook and Twitter. I'm Glenn Saville. You've been watching The Hawks Nest. We'll see you next time.